Hey gang, Captain David Glasser was in the studio with me this morning. We appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday right here to Catch a Memory Outdoors. And hopefully you will enjoy this show with myself and David. Thanks a lot for watching.
Appreciate you guys and gals tuning in every Saturday morning to check out what's going on up and down the Space Coast of Florida. We're going to be talking about it today. I've got my special guest, Captain David Glasser, in the studio with you this morning. And, of course, I'm Captain Jim Ross for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time. You can get us on the WWBC 1510 signal. You can also get us in North Brevard at 99.9, Central Brevard at 94.7, and South Brevard at 100.7 FMs. You can listen to us on Catch a Memory Outdoors, streaming over the internet, over the live Ustream feed. And you can also get us at Facebook. And so good morning to those of you guys and gals out there on Facebook. We appreciate y'all tuning in every Saturday. And David, it's one of those mornings where it's a better morning than what I had anticipated on the water. I was expecting a little more wind and a little more swell, and there's some swell out there, obviously, but it's gonna be a pretty nice day for the guys that are out on the flats. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's looking nice along the US 1 there. That whole Indian River was beautiful this morning.
You know, so you've been chartering now for what, about a year and a half, 2 years?
6 years.
Oh, 6 years.
Yes.
Well, full time, I should say.
Oh, full time since February.
Since February.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say it's been a short duration. I know you've been on the water a lot with your job because you were a firefighter and paramedic at here in Brevard County. So obviously 1 day on and 2 days off.
Yep.
So 24 on, 48 off gives you some time to go play.
Yes, sir.
Now, how long were you a fireman?
I worked for Brevard County Fire Rescue for just over 17 years.
My wife used to volunteer up in Maryland when she was up there, and she was getting ready to go full time. Then she got a job offer down here doing something unrelated to that. And she came down here, wanted to continue that, and they said that she had to retest all over again.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm already driving the ambulance. I'm already doing all the things that I'm in the fire gear. I'm spraying with the hose. I'm the whole deal. I don't know what all is involved in it, but she's doing all that. She's like, why do I got to retake? She had to take courses and retest again or something. Yeah. He's like, I'm not doing that.
Every state's like that. You have to meet their
there was no reciprocating. And it wasn't like your concealed weapons permit where they reciprocate because you got it in one state, you can go to another state with it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I don't know. She's like, I'm not going through that again because she already had a full-time job.
Yeah,
and she would have started off basically as a part-time or a volunteer, and then worked her way into a full-time position. So with the job she had, she was like, I just don't have time for all that. But she misses it.
Yeah,
she does miss it. She enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, I think it's hard for the people that did it elsewhere and come here and want to do it, but it's hard taking all the classes and everything again.
Yeah, she used to say, man, I used to love being on the end of the ladder, the hook and ladder truck, getting up there, and she loves heights. She loves roller coasters and heights and things like that, so she was always wanting to be on the top of the ladder spraying down,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, David, you've been out here at the port. Like I said, I've seen you out here for a long, long time, and now that you're doing this sort of as a full-time gig, what's the difference between part-time and full-time?
Having the flexibility in my schedule, that was the toughest thing part-time, because I couldn't fish like the first day off because I was getting off shift at 7 in the morning, not enough time to get everything ready. So I only had, my second full day off was the only time I could fish. And so having flexibility for clients, if people have a certain day they want to fish, I'm a lot more flexible. So
yeah,
that's easier, and not having to put all my gear away every night. Like if I'm going on shift for a day, I didn't want to leave the boat out and everything. So now it's not a big deal. I can take care of it in the morning if I don't finish everything.
Right.
But yeah, just having that flexibility is really nice, and being home every night.
That's a good thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard being gone. My wife and I have been married 20 years, and we were figuring out in the 17 and a half years I worked for the county how long I was gone. I was gone for 6 years,
Wow. Yeah.
being gone for every third day. So adds up. It's nice. It's just nice being able to be home with the family and everything. So,
For sure.
but yeah, just trying to fish more areas and using that. I love fishing, so I like being on the water if I'm not chartering. So, definitely fishing more, which I enjoy.
Yeah. It is nice to be able to get out there and do that. Um, the fishing this week, I've been kind of surprised at what has gone on the week prior, because I've been fishing down at Sebastian a lot this week. The week prior, the flats fishing was kind of lackluster. Talk with a couple of guys that we got some reports from Mosquito Lagoon on the show, and talk with a couple of guys around, plus what me and Justin have been doing, and it was just kind of so. And then all of a sudden this past week, man, everything just really lit up. So I think there was a just a little time after Hurricane Debbie went by that the fish were like not sure really what they wanted to do, and now they're back into a routine, and we've had some really good action this week. People are always like, are there sharks in the river?
Oh yes, yes there are.
Let me explain to you how many 20 to 25 pound jack crevalle we got that we had get eaten this week in the Indian River Lagoon.
Because especially by the inlet.
Yeah.
Down that way, there's a lot.
I'm talking 100, 150 pound bull sharks, and you'd be hooked up on a fish, and you're fighting him, and you're 10 minutes into the fight, and all of a sudden, he just gets mowed down. Absolutely gets mowed down, and you're like, come on, man, And then so there's to answer your question, is there sharks in the river? Yes. And is there a lot of sharks in the river? Yes. Right now, there are a lot of sharks in the river. But, we've been getting some tarpon. We've been getting those big jacks. There's been a few triple tails swimming around here and there. There was a couple that got pushed in from the cold water upwelling that we had last week, but not a lot, not like it will be later in the year. But what's interesting is the guys up at Ponce Inlet, Brian Pounds, Mike Mann, Mark Gibson, Fred Robert, the guys that I've talked to up there said that cold water started pushing inside the inlet and actually pushed the snook off of the jetties and back into the bridges. So they were fishing the bridges like the Dunlawton Bridge and the North Bridge and the South Bridge there at New Smyrna, and had some pretty good trips because those fish were pushed inside, and there was concentrations of bait in there. There's croakers in there, and there's mullet in there, and then a bunch of glass minnows. So 3 different kinds of bait fish all in that inner portion, and it turned into a pretty good bite towards the last weekend and first part of this week for sure.
Yeah, we had I fished down south the other day in Melbourne Beach area, and a lot of snook in there, and then water temp was definitely a lot warmer, but it has been cold around the mouth of the port. Last week it was 76 degrees or 78 degrees right at the mouth, and offshore, 15 miles offshore, was 85 degrees. So big difference there.
Yeah, it's 83 this morning at the 20-mile buoy, or no, 86 at the 20-mile buoy, and like 81 at the nearshore buoy. Have you seen any mullet this week? Because I haven't fished Canaveral at all this week, so they did kick them off.
There has been some really big schools of mullet first thing in the morning inside the port. Excuse me, by the boat ramp there, and surprisingly, I saw a guy throw his net the other day, and they couldn't even pull their net in.
Couldn't even lift it. Huh?
Actually, we had a net full. I couldn't even have my client help get the mullet on the boat.
Now, are they silvers or are they blacks? Or a mixture?
I believe they're silvers. They're bigger ones. They're like 8 and 10-inch mullet. But yeah, they've been in the port there.
Gotcha.
This past week, great baits too, live baits for the kingfish.
Definitely. So you've been going out to the reef a little bit?
Yeah, I went out. I had a trip Monday and Tuesday, and we got some nice kings. Got a nice cobia on Tuesday morning, and conditions were as good as it gets.
You know, I was like I said, I was outside Tuesday. I was outside of the inlet, running up and down the beach, and there's a lot of tarpon on the beach down in Sebastian and Vero right now. So that's, we haven't had the best summer for tarpon. We've had an okay summer, but it's not like last year or the year before where we had really good numbers, big schools of fish, big areas that they were holding in, or large schools, I should say, holding in certain areas. And this year, it's, Canaveral's been a struggle this year with all of that dirty water from the beach renourishment projects. It's chased the bait fish out. The bait fish have all been in 40, 50, 60 feet of water. They don't want to come to the beach. The tarpon don't want to be in the mud. It's really, I don't understand how something that's that detrimental to the environment is continued to be allowed. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't either. We've had a lot of issues. Like our beach fishing used to be great before they're doing all this sand restoration project and beach fishing where I live.
Or at least pump sand back on the beach. Quit putting dirt on the beach.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
The dirt doesn't belong there. So, water was super clean down at Sebastian. Super clean. You could almost see the bottom in 10, 12 feet of water. And, you could see the fish swimming around. We were sight casting at fish that were 6 feet down in the water column. Because by the time I got out onto the beach on Tuesday, it was almost 11. So sun's way up in the sky by then. And of course the fish aren't rolling all that much, but the water's so clean, you can still sight cast them. And we had singles, doubles, and little pods of up to about 5 or 6 fish just streaming up the beach, just happy as they could be. Now, here's the one thing I didn't see. I did not see any mullet, but when you get up to Cocoa Beach and north, there were some mullet showing up. So I think they were heading that way.
What kind of baits were you guys using for the tarpon?
Well, I had Mahara, mullet, and not croakers, pigfish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I caught those 3 in the net. So,
what is the water temp over there?
82,
oh,
81,
okay.
82. So, yeah,
a lot warmer than what we're having at the port. That's probably why we're not seeing as many there. A couple weeks back, I think it was around the time you're catching tarpon up in the bite there.
Mm-hmm.
There's I came across hundreds of them. Couldn't get them to eat nothing. They were rolling all around the boat. It was so frustrating.
They do. Yeah, that's the thing about tarpon. You're thinking to yourself, man, I am in the middle of the tarpon patch.
Yes.
Why am I not getting a bite?
Yeah.
And they do that when they turn off. They do. A lot of the times the guys with fly still are able to get them to bite. And I think to myself, if we had a smaller bait fish, if we had some finger mullet or something like that, I think that we would do better, because it seems to me that they're targeting smaller things than what we're trying to offer them. And Monday 2 weeks ago, Justin was fishing in the Indian River by Cocoa, and between Cocoa and Rockledge right there. And he had pogies and he had fingerling mullet. And the tarpon would not eat the pogies. He's getting catfished up. I mean, sail cat after sail cat after sail cat. A couple of the bigger jacks, those 10 to 20 pound jacks. But he couldn't get the tarpon to bite. So he'd run out of pogies, and he's like, well, I'll just put a finger mullet on there and throw it out there. And he says the finger mullet wasn't out there 30 seconds, and a 100-pounder eats it.
Nice.
Now, is that just coincidence, or is that kind of a verification of maybe they just wanted a smaller bait at that time? But you don't think about it's so hard. We hear it time and time again. Elephants eat peanuts, but it's so hard when you got a nice fat tasty pogie that you can slide out the back of the boat with a hook in his nose. You're thinking he's got to eat that over a fingerling mullet. I mean, it's so much higher in protein. It's so much easier for him to catch in many cases because it's not trying to jump out of the water and get away from him. But doesn't matter. Here he is. He catches a 110-pound tarpon. He was like everything I saw rolling was 50 to 80. He goes, and all of a sudden this giant one comes out, for a river tarpon, giant one comes out and eats it. So, 45 minutes later, they're finally getting that fish to the leader.
The pogey you were throwing was a live pogey?
He was throwing live pogies, yeah.
A friend of mine went to, he was fishing in Puerto Rico one time, and he went down with this guide, and the guy bought mahora, these big live mahora, and they get out to the spot, and the guy puts the mahora on the deck and smashes it with his boot, hooks it on, and tosses it out. And like 30 seconds later, they catch like over 100-pound tarpon. So I've been trying to use some chunk bait, and it's been working really good. And I think those fish are lazy sometimes, and they'll eat that.
Well,
chunk
the
bait.
guys on the West Coast, when they're not using past crabs, many times they'll net turbos. They call them shad. Okay? But yellow fin menhaden, like the ones we've been using in the river all week down here in Sebastian, and all last week really in Cocoa and Rockledge. The ones in Cocoa and Rockledge are small. They're 4 to 5, maybe 6 inches. The ones down at Sebastian start at about 6 inches and go to about 9 or 10. So they're much bigger baits. But they're big enough that the catfish can't eat them.
Yeah.
But the bull sharks and the jacks and the tarpon can. But you don't think that, a little 4 or 5 inch fingerling mullet is going to outproduce a 7 or 8 inch nice fat tasty oily pogey, But going back to what the guys on the West Coast do a lot, they'll anchor up and just cut a bait in half, and then use the other half of it to kind of chunk and chum. And they seem to be very productive, with that particular technique. Egg sinker on the bottom, a little bit of a leader, and just let it flop in the current, and the tarpon come and pick it up. So, we have so much tumbleweed algae here that it's difficult for us to do that in a lot of places in the lagoon system. But if you have an area where there's not too much tumbleweed built up, you can get away with doing that. And of course, on the beach, you can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Well, guys and gals, we're going to take our first break of the day. Captain David Glasser and myself, Jim Ross, are going to be right back with a whole lot more Catching Memories, so don't go away. We're going to be right back after these messages. This segment of the show is brought to you by Lamb Deck, and if you guys are looking for a great product to put on your boat, I'm telling you, Lamb Deck is it. Get over there to Titusville, talk to Tom and Jaden, and get some EVA non-skid decking put down on your boat. Makes it quieter, makes it way more comfortable, and it's super easy to clean up. And, of course, comes in all kinds of really cool colors, so you can really make your boat stand out. 321-505-4888 is their phone number. That's 321-505-4888. Or check them out at Lamb Deck, Lamdeck, lambdeck.com, or go to their Facebook page. You can pick them up there as well. Man, I love the product. I've got it on my boat, and I really that helm pad I have it's a game changer. When you're riding around on the ocean all day long, man, it's a game changer. So I really appreciate the fact that I put that on there, and it's just a whole lot better than standing on that hard deck all day. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
David, so you're running a bay boat. A lot of us run bay boats. They allow us to do a lot of things. We can fish the lagoon system. We can fish the intracoastal inlets, and then of course we can fish along the beaches and get offshore when it's nice. Day like today, we've got a pretty far. We got a swell, but it's pretty far apart. It's 4 or 5 foot, but it's 11 or 12 seconds, so it's not that bad. The chop is what really messes with a bay boat. So you get that 2 to 3 foot tight chop, and that's difficult for us to run in, where a longer, bigger center console can kind of get across it, has the weight and the length, the span across it. But on the days, when it's calm, getting out to the reef we get there just as fast, if not faster, than anybody else. And you've had a chance to get out there a couple of days this week, it sounded like.
Yeah, it was really nice. We had Monday and Tuesday was beautiful out there. We're fishing about 15 to 16 miles straight east of the port. And also, I live right in between 20 miles south of Port Canaveral and 20 miles north of the inlet. So I fish the inlet a lot, too. So I like the reefs out there as well. It's a lot of good fishing.
Yeah, the Pines and Bethel Shoals. And, there's some good fishing to be had down there. And now that the water's, cleaning back up and warming back up, that's helping as well.
Yes, absolutely. We also,
in fact, I want to throw a big shout out to John Sorensen. Him and his son Jonathan were out the other day and they were on pelican, got a little wahoo, and they brought me by a couple of pieces of wahoo. So that was really nice. That was really nice. We cooked those right on up, made a nice meal with it, and then cooked up the second part of it and had some fish tacos on our typical Tuesday night taco scenario. So
yeah, in Hawaii they call wahoo ono, and ono in Hawaii means delicious. So they understand there too how good wahoo is.
Now, were you stationed in Hawaii, or
I was not.
You lived there.
I lived there.
Been there to fish.
I used to surf professionally, so
okay.
I moved there back in '94 and lived there for about 12 years. Yeah, and I fished there as well. A lot of good fishing. Like we're talking on the break about marlin fishing. Did some really good fishing on the Big Island and off of Maui too.
So a typical day over there, it sounds a lot like kind of what Kyle Weaver, who's been giving us a call back, back from when he gets a chance, he's calling from the Azores and giving us some stuff that he's been doing over there. Big tuna, like yellowfin tuna that are like 250, 275. Kyle's 6 foot, whatever, 6'3", 6'4". I don't know what he is. I'm talking fish almost as long as he is.
Yeah, lots of big fish in that
big
deep water.
Big yellowfins, big bluefins, big eye tuna, blue marlin. Just really cool to be able to target those bigger fish like that.
Well,
so you had a chance to do that in Hawaii, though.
Yes, off of the Big Island of Hawaii, there's it's so deep. It's incredible. You go a mile out and you're in 1,000 feet of water in some areas. Like we were fishing a ledge off of Kona Airport, and it went from 300 feet to 1,000 feet, and I could see the logos on the planes on the runway.
Wow.
It was incredible. I mean, you can go marlin fishing and be back in by noon, no problem.
Half-day marlin fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. Yeah, we just don't have that depth over here. You have to go so far
You
out.
got a long ride to get to that kind of water.
Long day on the water.
Yeah. There's been some interesting catches out here in the deep water lately. Phil Lombardi here recently just caught an oil fish, an escalar, which is, you don't see very many of those come in.
I don't even think I know what that is.
Yeah.
Oil fish?
Oil fish.
Yeah.
Escalar is what, is another name for it. If you go to the sushi restaurant, they call it white tuna. So it's the oily white tuna fish that you get that you don't want to eat more than, just a couple of pieces of. Otherwise, you will be running to the restroom. Yeah, it's it'll run right through you if you eat too much of it. So you got to be careful with that.
How big are those fish?
The one he caught looked like it was probably 28 to maybe 30 pounds in size. I'm guessing, maybe just a little bigger, but I'm thinking I'm just call it 30 pounds roughly. But they've got they look like a cross, kind of between a king mackerel and a bluefish, if you will.
Yeah, I haven't
and they've
heard
got
of
gigantic. All those deep water fish have gigantic eyes.
Yeah.
Swords and escalar and pomfrets and.
Were they trolling or bottom fishing?
He was, he was sword fishing basically.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Same way you would deep dropping for swordfish. And Adam Durr out at Sunrise Marina here a couple of weeks ago had a nice pomfret that he got when he was out there deep dropping. So some really good fish to eat whenever you get out there.
Okay.
Kurt Boykin is another fellow that I've talked to recently. He and his dad have been just tearing up the Golden Edge grouper. Those things have. I mean, he's been getting legitimate 30 to 35 pound, yellowfin grouper. He goes Golden Edge grouper. Man, I'm talking. And when you cut into it, the meat looks like this bucket. It's as white as you can imagine when you cut into those fish.
Great table fare.
Great. Just all those deep water fish, because they're eating squids and crabs, mainly. There's not a whole lot of bait fish. So they're feeding on things that, aren't fishy.
Yeah,
so they don't
like
really taste fishy, if you will. So it's there's some good stuff out there right now. I'm looking forward to inshore we've been catching mangrove snapper, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the next segment. But the mangrove snapper bite this year has started to pick back up now that we've gotten past those June and July full moons. The fish are showing back up at the inlets again, and even a couple of caberas down at Sebastian Inlet.
I've seen that. Yeah, I heard there's been a couple of nice ones.
And pretty nice ones. I mean, 8-10 pounders. I mean, some nice size ones. So good stuff going on right now. I'm glad to see that, even though it's been hot, the fishing this last week has really gotten good, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks, especially leading into snook season. With snook season opening back up, it's time to go. That's go time for sure.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, we're going to take our next break, gang, and when we get back, we're going to have a whole lot more with David Glasser and myself. If you want to give us a call, 321-632-1000 is our call-in line. We'd love to hear from you. Don't go away. We're going to be right back with more Catch a Memory after these messages. This segment of the show is brought to you by Sun State Pest Management. Remember, it's time to get those bugs out of your house, out of your yard. Give Sun State Pest Management a call and let them come take care of all of your pest problems. That way you don't have to keep a bunch of insecticide and things around the house that the kids and the dogs and all the other things that can get into it that you don't want into that insecticide. So Sun State Pest Management, been in business for years and years, doing a fantastic job taking care of your pest management issues. Just give them a call if you have any kind of problem. 800-781-7378. That's 800-781-7378. And you guys and gals can get those bugs out of your house. Want to say good morning to a couple of the guys that are out there on the Facebook feed this morning. Got Matt Lee on this morning, Jerry Walters, Don Schaefer, or Sharfer, Mike Kipp. Good morning to Capt Mike, Jason Young, Orson. Good morning, Chris Kaminsky down in Vero Beach. Good morning to you, sir. Tony Banks. Who else have we got on here? Frank Witten is on with us. Nicholas Hill. Anyway, my beautiful wife is actually listening as she's driving southbound to do a dog rescue today. So a lot of stuff going on a Saturday. Anyway, just want to say good morning to a couple of you guys out there. Butch McCoy says he's waiting for Kyle to call in and give us the report. I'm going to try to get Kyle to call in the second hour of the show and give us the big game report from the other side of the pond. See what's going on over there, because I know they've had a couple of big fish here in the last week or two. He sent me a picture 2 days ago of a big blue marlin that they had. That's
awesome.
Substantial.
Yeah.
Substantial. It's not world record, but it's a substantial fish. So anyway, just want to say thank you to those. Jesse Dance, good morning. Linda Pierce, good morning to Grandma Mogan there. Shay Hobby. Shay has we've been kind of texting back and forth, messaging back and forth. He has been doing really good up in the Titusville area. He's been finding some really nice fish up there, so that's a great thing to hear.
Yes.
That that area of the river is really starting to show some signs of improvement. It used to be a world-class fishery from NASA Causeway to Turnbull Creek, and then we've had some years where it's not so great. A lot of years where it's not so great. But he's actually finding some good grass starting to grow back, and some good fish in that grass. So it's good to hear that. It's encouraging when you guys got have guys like Shay Hobby that are getting out there and putting some fish, bending a rod and putting some fish to the release grip, I guess.
Yeah.
Say, if you're wading. Who we got on the line this morning? We got Capt Matt Lee on this morning. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all?
Doing good, buddy. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Fixing to go do some deer maintenance.
Yeah? Getting the feeders reset and everything?
Oh, yeah. Gotta do all the good stuff, buddy. Gotta put in the time and the work.
I've been messing around with our property at Oak Hill. I haven't seen much deer activity here lately because we've got one particular hog that needs to go.
You need some help extinguishing that pig?
Yeah. Well, my camera broke, so I hadn't been paying much attention to him the last 3 months. But he's rooting stuff up, and I can see that there's very few deer tracks around. So he's basically just running them off. So
yeah, if he's big like that, they won't coexist.
Yeah, he's from what I can tell, he's somewhere around 200. So
he's good.
and maybe a little bigger. So I
got
just
a couple cameras. You need a camera, bud?
well, I was just gonna say I just bought two the Cuddy Link system. Tino down at All About Archery in Melbourne carries that line of cameras, and he sold me a couple of those. So I just finally set them up yesterday, and put them up, and got some pictures last night of Porky the pig up there. And so I've got to get him timed again, because when I had my other cameras up there and they were working, I had him timed pretty good, and then they broke. And so the one time that I went up there, he decided he wasn't going to be there. The other time I walked in late, the feeder had already gone off, and he's standing there, and I couldn't get close enough really to take a bow shot. And it was dark anyway. I could barely see his outline, but I wasn't comfortable taking the shot. And then, unfortunately, because I wasn't in the stand, he winded me and took off. So that's been a couple of weeks.
You're not, is your property bow only, or can you shoot?
No, I could shoot him with a gun. It's just more fun to shoot him with the bow.
Oh, of course, but if he's not coming out during the daylight and you get him at nighttime, well,
I walked in the morning, but I walked in late, and
oh, okay, I got you.
So I was walking in as the feeder was spraying corn, and of course they have it timed. He's got a wristwatch. He's like, oh yeah, it's going to go off in 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and it starts spraying, and I heard it spraying as I was walking in, and I'm like, man, he's already going to be there, and he was.
Waiting.
And
he was underneath the feeder with his mouth open.
Oh, he's standing there waiting on that thing to go off, man. It's like,
Hey, Jim, come on over, bud.
Yeah.
It's good times.
So I couldn't get to my stand with it before he winded me. And if I would have been up in my stand, the wind would have been better. But unfortunately, I was late. And that's what happens when you're late. You get to watch the pig run off. But I'll get him timed. Like I said, I got it's a cell camera that I put up there now. So, and it's that Cuddy Link system. So I've got cameras all over the property. So I've got my regular game cameras that have, batteries and cards in them. And then I've got this cell link system too. So I can monitor whatever, I can monitor them all over the place with that system now. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're going to love it. If you haven't had one before, you'll love them.
Yeah. So.
Well, the cell link anyway.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and looked at a couple of the pictures that it sent, and I was like, "Yeah, it's we'll get him timed out, because he was in there at 10:00 last night. He came in late,
Yeah,
we'll get him We'll get him timed out, and Mike Delator actually gave me a night hunting light to mount. The mounts on your AR platform, so I'm going to put that on my 308, and Tino gave me a green laser light. I'm going to put that on my 5.56 platform. So one way or another, he's going down. We're going to have a barbecue soon.
It's going to be barbecue.
Y'all are going to get some pulled pork. There you go.
For a luau.
Make sure I'm invited down to that weekend, will you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But he's eating enough corn that he should taste pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of that.
He should taste
that's
pretty
what
good.
I'm going to do.
You know what I may do? Once I get him timed, I think I'm just going to start going out there and throwing some donuts and raisin bread and a couple other things out there too, Get him nice and tasty.
Sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Pineapple.
Right.
Yeah. I'm telling you what, you take a couple of loaves of raisin bread out there, let me tell you, bub, they will come running for that stuff. And they taste so good when you decide it's time to harvest.
Yeah.
Man, did they taste good when you put some fats and sweets into them, like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I sure do.
The last one we took to the processor, I didn't clean it. I didn't really feel like messing with him. I took him over to John Zulke, and John's like, "Where did you get this?" I was like, "Shot it in the edge of the cattle pasture where Robin used to keep her horse." He goes, "I've never seen a wild hog that had meat that looked like this in my life." And I'm like, well, he eats a lot of raisin bread and stuff like that, ho-hos and ding-dongs and all that stuff you get at the day old, the stuff you get from the bakery. He's like, I have never seen a wild hog with meat that was this color. This looks like Are you sure this isn't somebody's pet? Like their pet hog they'd
Was
had.
it yellow?
Yeah, it was pink, like just beautiful pink, light pink meat. Oh yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But he did. He called me up. He goes, "Where did you get this?" Because he was thinking I shot somebody's pet pig.
That's
That's
awesome.
funny. That is funny.
Well, Robin
we got
actually,
one
Robin
thing up
actually
there in
shot that
Georgia,
one with.
he's-
She shot that one with her bow. But anyway, um, hey, so what's going on in Mosquito Lagoon this week?
Well, the trout bite's, good still. The redfish bite's still good. A lot of the grass, though, is kind of disappearing in some areas that I'm kind of concerned about. But and in other places, it's full of grass. So not really know what's going on with that part of it. But the water's been beautiful. The fishing is still stands to be good. We've been using a lot of pigfish. We've been doing. I've been doing a lot of popping corks with some shrimp out of Louisiana, the Four Horsemen tackle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, they've been eating those things up, but the trout have been. It's been a good bite on those. So when you can just go out and just cover an area, and then once you find them, then you throw your pigfish out there, and you just you just change it up some. It's been good.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about some of those areas are starting to lose some grass. I mean, we're coming into the fall, so the grass is naturally going to die back, as it should. But yeah, when we haven't had grass for so long, and then all of a sudden you start to see the grass dissipating or disappearing from certain areas, you're like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? You really miss it now that we've got it back in a lot of those areas,
Makes it hard to fish
I
though
tell my
when the
people all the
grass.
time, like, they get grass in their hooks or whatever, and I'm like, I will never complain about this again. Like I told them, I was like, sorry, it's just something you got to deal with, bud.
Yep.
But I did notice the areas I was fishing, going in there and then not getting a bite with a real low light, not getting a bite in there or getting maybe a couple of small ones. And then when the sun comes up, I'm going, well, okay, the grass is disappearing here, so now I've got to go find that again. And then with some dirtier water, it seemed to be where the fish were. So, but the redfish, they're just still pretty good bite on them, with the water being so low still. So
Gotcha.
they've been tailing and fighting and jumping out of the water. It's been really cool, actually.
So other than the pigfish, are you seeing like shoreline crawlers or anything like that where you can actually sight cast to some of the reds in those areas?
Actually, yes, sir. Yeah, Jim. I had a couple, about a week or so ago, and they were coming right down the bank, and I was kind of like intercepting them, and then I threw a bait out to him, and he came out of that water and actually like jumped out of the water to hit this bait. I mean, it was, when they want it, they're not scared of it, he literally jumped out of the water like 15 feet and scared the crap out of me. We're like, oh shit, I didn't expect that. I missed the hook set on him because he did that to me too, I'm like, God, that was a rookie move, but whatever. But it was fun. Yeah, they're crawling, they're all over the place with this low water.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, we're pushed up against our next break. How does somebody get a hold of you? Do you have any time available? I know it's a busy time of the year, but hopefully you can squeeze some of our listeners in there. Have you got some time available?
Yeah, I can squeeze some people in. It's 386-214-3530 or Code Red Fishing Charters on Instagram, Facebook, website, whatever.
Gotcha.
Give me a call. We'll get you out there, get you out some fish.
Awesome, buddy. Captain Matt Lee, one of the best in the lagoon. Give him a call, gang. Appreciate the report this morning, Matt.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. I'll
Thanks,
call you
Matt.
after the show.
All right, buddy.
Bye now. Hey, gang, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more Catch a Memory with Captain David Glasser and myself, Jim Ross, so don't go away. This segment of the show is brought to you by Engel Coolers, and I'm telling you, I just can't say enough about my Engel Cooler. I was messing around with, up working on the property yesterday, driving the tractor, putting up cameras and stuff. And my cooler, I've got a one that's just, I got it cabled into the back of the truck so it doesn't grow legs and walk away. That stupid thing, it's got to be 11 or 12 years old. Sitting in the sun every day, getting stuff thrown in the bed of the truck, knocked around, this and that. I finally got a little crack on the underside of the lid. The first blemish I've even seen in it. It sits in the sun every day.
For 11 years?
11 years.
That's pretty good.
And now it's got like a 1-inch crack in it. Am I going to worry and stress about it? No. But here's what's cool. When I decide it's time to get a new lid, it's lifetime warranty.
Oh, that's great.
You just call them up and they go, okay, we'll send you a new lid. That's what's great about Engel, man. So they don't break. And then if they do, well, they fix it for you anyway. So go to engelcoolers.com, check them all out, order it, have them ship it right to you. In fact, every once in a while, they'll have free shipping. You can kind of check that out, check back here and there, and get free shipping on your products once in a while, which is really nice on the, when you're talking about a cooler.
Yeah, especially those molded
you can run into $30, $40 worth of shipping costs pretty quickly, with that size of a box. So free shipping really adds up. So check them out online. You can also get them on Amazon and every other place out there. So just fantastic product, and I can't say enough good things about it. Hey, we're going to go back to the phone lines. We got Captain Mike Mann on the line right now. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you today?
We're doing good, buddy.
Doing
Got
good.
David
Thank
Glasser
you.
in the studio for the first time. We got a newbie in the studio.
Good morning, Mike.
Groovy. Oh, man. Hopefully Jimmy hooks you up with some of that Starbright stuff.
He did. He did.
That
Well,
company's so good to us. I mean, just
We're
fantastic.
Starbright's a wonderful product. We are out on the Mosquito Lagoon today, and believe it or not, it's actually slick calm right now. We got a little light east breeze. And so far, we've seen a few tarpon. We got Jack Crevalle's catfish, and we were getting ready to move up and switch over to some piggies and go trout fishing. I don't think I've had the same bite, same weather conditions this entire month.
It has been very, very interesting. Although, I am not disagreeing with Mother Nature on this northeast breeze.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
am
been a lot
really
better.
liking it right now.
Nice for a change.
Yeah.
Especially with the upwelling.
Yes.
Yep. It's
With the upwelling, it's some cool breeze.
Yep. I'm not going to complain a bit because it's pushed a lot of fish inside the lagoon system, and it doesn't really matter what the wind's blowing as long as it's not more than 20, 25. You can fish every day, and we haven't had any kind of heavy wind, so it's been really good fishing this week. I've been impressed with it, and the temperatures have been great.
Yeah, temperature's been wonderful. See, we've had a little bit more wind up here. The last 2 days, maybe not so much yesterday, but prior 2 days before that, we had some 25 plus mile an hour winds up. This way.
That's substantial.
Yeah, and it didn't start that way. It start 10 to 15 in the morning and then build.
Yeah.
So it kind of made it a little more challenging. The tarpon bite has not been great up this way. They're not a big fan of that north wind.
Mike, have you got jacks in there like you had last week and the week before? That was the one thing that I noticed whenever we started getting the upwelling. All of a sudden, everybody was catching jacks inside. It was pushing them in. Are you still seeing them?
We released a jack a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw a couple days this week was those big roving, just war parties of 8 to 10 pound jacks.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you'll see a football field size area just start boiling, and it's been those big jacks. And my little trout rods, an 8-9 pound jack is a workout.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a workout on the tarpon rods. You put it on one of these little medium action rods, and you got something going on.
You get that warm spool syndrome.
Yes, that is a fact.
Hot spool.
Hot spool syndrome.
We've caught some decent redfish this week as well. The one thing that I've noticed, man, the water is low, and I was thinking kind of with this east wind, it would push a little bit of water in, and it is low water up here right now.
Well, that's the polar ice caps are melting, and so that's why it's so low.
Polar ice caps are melting, and the water is going down. You don't figure.
I don't know. I don't even know what to think about it anymore. Everything does exactly the opposite of what you think it's supposed to most of the time.
It's true.
So, Mike, we've had, down this way in the Indian River Lagoon around Cocoa, Rockledge, Melbourne, all the way down to Wabasso, we've had those 20 to 25 pound jacks inside, daisy chaining and spawning.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't, I would say that some of the schools I've seen are probably that big. I haven't seen them daisy chaining yet. I've just seen them basically, they'll find a big school of mullet, and all of a sudden it's murder time.
Yeah, it looks like a war zone.
It's
Explosions everywhere. Yeah.
And I looked at the forecast. Looks like we're switching southwest back to that southwest and west wind starting tomorrow. So the heat's coming back.
Yeah, heat and humidity. Here we go.
It opens up the beach fishing for us, and we have had a plethora of bait along the beach. We started getting the tarpon. We started getting some big schools of mullet moving down. Started getting some pogies moving through. And it was kind of a little hit or miss, but I think as that bait stays along the beach, the tarpon are going to start filtering into them real good. But I did get a report from James Dumas from Drumman Charters. He talked to a guy in Chesapeake Bay who said he saw a school of probably 2,000 tarpon up that way. So he's never been guiding up there 20 years, never seen tarpon up there.
Wow.
And he saw a school of probably 2,000 of them just cruising north.
And still going north, huh?
Yeah, still going north. This was a couple weeks ago, so hopefully that school's going to turn south, and they're going to start working their way back south to where they should be.
Well,
I don't know if it's Debbie that pushed them or what.
I was going to say there's been down this way. There's been a lack of bait fish for the most part, and so unfortunately, our summer has not been as good a summer as it has been the last two, because there's really not been a whole lot of food for those fish. And, in conjunction with dirty water, which probably is why we're not having the bait fish, is because of the dirtier water. But the water is starting to clean up just a little bit. And every time it seems to clean up, we seem to get a better bite.
Yeah, they like that clean water, and, it just makes everything a little bit easier. And I think I did one offshore trip this past week. Monday we were offshore. And it was before that swell came in, that wind switched northeast. And, it was an okay bite. We caught a lot of lanes, but not any of the big lanes that I'm normally catching this time of year. And we caught, one good mangrove, a couple little small grouper. The barracudas were so bad, though. You couldn't keep a kingfish on.
Really? They were biting them that bad, huh?
Yeah, you'd get a kingfish on. I was freelining behind the boat, and we were picking up kingfish. And, about the second jump of it, all of a sudden, you'd feel a real heavy tug, and there'd be nothing. As you're reeling it in, you're feeling it getting jerked. And, by the time you get it to you, the wire was all screwed up, and there was just a little bit of remnants of kingfish left.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, it happens. But you know what's fun? Get those light spinners out and pitch a bait out to those barracudas, and then watch it jump around like a sailfish.
Yeah.
They go crazy on light tackle.
They do. They're a lot of fun on light tackle.
We ended up switching over, and I dropped down a couple of the spots that we brought up, pitched a couple of those over, and ended up getting some of those barracuda. And we got one that was probably 4.5 foot long, and that's a lot of fun.
That's a big fish. Yeah, definitely. Well, buddy, we're up against our next break. How does somebody get a hold of you and get out there and do some fishing?
Yeah, I've got some days open starting mid-September and into October. That's prime tarpon season up here, guys. So give me a call at area code 386-295-5991. You go right to my website, fatfishguide.com. Follow me on Instagram, CAPT Mike Man with 2 N's, and Facebook, Fatfish Guide Service. Guys, get out there and catch them up.
Awesome, buddy. Take care, and thanks a lot for the call, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye now. I forgot to ask him if he's been using any of the salty snacks. I gave him some salty snacks from Assassin to see if those things, or where he was having a problem with his topwaters getting hung up in the grass. And
call him back.
I'll call him after the show, or maybe we'll talk about it next week and see if he's had a chance to use them yet. Anyway, we're going to take our top of the hour break. We've got a whole nother hour of Catch a Memory coming at you here right after this message with Captain David Glasser and myself, Jim Ross. So don't go away. We're going to be back after these messages. This is the second hour of the show. Captain David Glasser is joining me, Captain Jim Ross, in the studio. For those of you that are just tuning in, hopefully you're going to enjoy what we've got going on. Want to let you know that we're going to go right to the phone lines. We've got Lisa from CCA with the CCA Star tournament update, and there's still plenty of time to get registered and to be able to win something. So let's go see what's going on with the CCA Star tournament this morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, you guys. How are you?
We're doing fantastic.
Doing good.
How are you
Thank
doing
you.
this morning?
Well, doing wonderful. It's a gorgeous morning. That little cool front pushed through, so hopefully I know the fish are biting, and I'm working. I'm in Ocala at the North Central Outdoor Expo showing off those gorgeous boats that we have to give away. We've got a deck cat on site, spider boat on site, and a microdraft skiff on site. If you come today and get registered for the competition at the Ocala Festival, you get a long sleeve performance star shirt, so we're excited. I know you guys have been talking about it, but I'm heartbroken because we are going into the last, I guess I call it the final leg of the, or the final tail of the competition, and we have no tagged redfish winners as of yet.
That's right.
But here's the crazy part. There's been like 12 people that have caught a tagged redfish this year.
But haven't been registered.
But they haven't been
There's
registered.
Actually, 15.
15 now. Holy cow. 15 people that are kicking. Dude, if I would be, my butt would be bruised. I'd kick myself so hard if I'd have caught a tagged redfish.
I am telling you, we have egos are bruised. I don't know about butt. Egos are bruised.
That's why I entered it.
It is such a shame. They're in every single coastal county.
Yeah.
I do have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed in Brevard County because this year they weren't involved with CCA Star. Generally, Brevard County has a total of 8 tagged redfish, and they do not this year. Hopefully next year we'll shame them into doing it. But we do have 2 counties that have tagged redfish and double the amount of any other county. So there's a total of 8 in each county. If you're planning somewhere to go over Labor Day weekend or the weekend prior to that, I would suggest targeting Charlotte Harbor or Citrus County. Each of those counties have a total of 8 tagged redfish. And these fish are in areas that are known by anglers to hold redfish. I mean, I'm not hiding them.
So,
we've got them out there where people can catch them.
How many tagged fish in Brevard?
There's 4. There's 4 in Brevard, if I remember correctly. 3 or 4.
There's 4 in Brevard.
Yeah.
There's 1 in Mosquito Lagoon, and the rest are in the Indian River or Banana River system.
Yeah. So Lisa, I was going to say, 15 people that potentially could have taken home one of those fantastic new boat, motor, and trailer packages. How many people, like East Coast versus West Coast, has there been an even split, or has there been more people on one coast than the other?
More people on the West Coast.
It is about an even split.
Okay.
I think there is 2 more West Coast anglers because you have to remember West Coast is all the way from Naples all the way up to the Panhandle.
Yeah,
so
a lot
it's
bigger area.
Much bigger area. But I'm going to tell you, the Panhandle has been just crushing catching tagged redfish. If you want to talk about it, on the West Coast, gosh, almost, I'm going to say 1/3 of the West Coast fish have all come from the Panhandle.
Interesting. Now, how many of these people are shore-based anglers versus boaters?
Good question.
So I am going to say that of the West Coast fish, 4 of them were shore-based anglers.
So you don't even have to have a boat. If you don't own a boat, you're probably fishing from the shore. And so you're still fishing from the shore because you weren't signed up for the CCA Star Florida tournament, and you could have been in one of those brand new boats like the ones you're showing off today if you had been.
The East Coast fish, 3 fish were shore-based anglers. 3.
Wow.
One gentleman was wading some mangroves further south around the Jensen Beach area. Another was up in the New Smyrna area, and then another was up of the St. Augustine area, and he was fishing off of a seawall. So I am going to tell you, people are catching them even in areas where you wouldn't think that someone would be able to land fish, but they are.
Well, Lisa, I remember the few years that you and I, or you and or myself and Brian Gorski went out and tagged redfish in the Mosquito Lagoon, and we put them. I mean, if there was a downtown Mosquito Lagoon, we put a redfish in it. You know what I mean? I mean, like you're saying, they are not hidden at all. They are right there in where everybody could catch them. It's amazing to me that and a lot of those Mosquito Lagoon redfish get recaptured. You know, I know that quite a few of the other guides that I'm aware of, John Lulay and Troy Perez, are two good examples. They caught tagged redfish that Lisa and I, or Brian and I, had put out in the past.
Yeah. I have a question for Lisa. Hey, Lisa, how many of those 15 fish that were caught this year were released with the tags, or were the tags taken out of the ones that the people weren't registered in the tournament?
Of the 15, only 3 of them were kept.
Gotcha.
So there's...
All of them were released, because remember, on the tags, it says, please release me.
Yeah.
So when they call in, they are specifically told, please release the fish with the tag intact. Now, the 3 that were kept, one of the gentlemen was not aware that it had a tag till he got it home to clean it, because it had like he thought it was a worm or a parasite of some sort. And then the other 2, one guy claimed that the fish was gut hooked, and the other gentleman was not quite as happy that he couldn't win, so he kept it anyway.
Gotcha.
That's sad.
That's that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
he
I
should
will
have
tell
put.
you,
Here's what he should have done. He should have put that fish right back where he found it, gone and registered, and then gone back and fished that shoreline again. Because redfish typically don't go that far away from where you put them.
Same area.
Jim, you are bing, 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 bing. I try to tell everyone, and we can't specifically tell them that when they hook the fish, bring it in, and go through. We can't tell them that, but common sense, or if you're a fisherman, you should say, oh my gosh, I'm going to put that fish back, and then give it some time. Now, don't put it back and then 20 minutes or 30 minutes later call me back and say I recaught that fish.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Because the odds are that really didn't happen.
Yeah.
But give it time, because that fish will eat again. I know of last year, the same fish was caught 3 different times by a captain with his clients, and every time that he got a client on his boat, he would say, hey, you should get registered. I have caught one in the past. You need to get registered, and you could win a brand new boat. The guys all scoffed at him, and guess what? He caught that fish with them. They were so upset. They tried, they were like, well, let's get registered now. And you can't do that.
You can't, it's too late. Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, we
have a polygraph examination you have to pass.
Yeah.
Where was that at,
and
Lisa?
You have to pass all the questions.
Where was that at that happened? Was that in Texas or Florida?
Florida and Citrus County.
Oh, okay. I heard last year there's a guide in Texas, and he caught 2 in one day.
Really?
Tagged fish,
2.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the clients weren't registered.
2 tagged redfish caught in one day.
So Lisa,
This year.
Captain David Glasser was telling me that you said a friend of yours?
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Rich Lovis. Was
Okay.
he heard you guys talking about the tournament, I guess last year. He listens to your show every weekend, And he's like, oh, I got to enter because you guys were talking about CCA. So he entered and he won the 90 horse Yamaha last year and a jack plate for a redfish.
That's awesome.
So he is.
And it wasn't a tagged redfish.
No,
it was
no,
just
no.
It was just a redfish.
Yeah,
that was in the
redfish.
redfish division.
Yes, correct.
Other than the tagged redfish division last year. Interesting.
So, and I'm going to tell you, Jim, that I'm glad you brought that up because the tagged redfish division is the signature division.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly where all the prizes are won. Excuse me. We have an offshore division, any species of offshore fish that you catch, and you can enter 3 of those a day. So if you catch a kingfish, a amberjack,
Shark.
and let's say a sailfish, you can enter all 3 of those fish, take a picture of them on the measuring device, enter them for a shot at a brand new 250 Yamaha motor.
There's $20,000.
Second,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice
plus,
prize.
plus AFCO prizes. So really, that prize is valued at $30,000.
Got some no
Are
seams
you
in your
okay?
throat this morning, huh?
I when I talk about that.
I can imagine so. The other
I
day,
have terrible
the other day,
allergies.
I was driving down the lagoon system, and I slow down, and I'm getting my cast net out, and I suck in a flipping no seam. Holy cow! I just like Lisa, I was choking and coughing on that stupid thing. But
Well, I have allergies, so.
well, Lisa, we are pushed up against our next break. So how does somebody get a hold of you or get a hold of a registration point to get registered? Because we still got a lot of time for people to get out there and not only catch a tagged redfish, but to catch tons of fish and enter into all of these other divisions that are available through the CCA Star Florida tournament.
It's September 3rd is the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend.
Yep.
You can call us at 844-387-7827. We'll register you over the phone. You can come to the Ocala event, and we will register you here, or you can go to the website at ccaflstar.com, and we'll register you there as well.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for the call in this morning. Thanks for giving us the update that there's been 15 fish recaptured, and it's only 2/3 of the way through the end of the tournament. There's still tons of them left out. 12 of them were put back in the water, and then all of the other 150-something that are out there for anglers to go and check.
Well, there's
check
still
out.
3 boats, too, so
Yeah.
you still have your pick of a boat
A pick
if you
of a-
catch
yeah,
that tagged redfish.
exactly.
There's 5 major prizes. So there's a contender boat, deck hat,
Nice.
microdraft skiff, spider, and then the Can-Am Sea-Doo packet.
Yeah, yeah. For the guys that like doing the fishing off of the Sea-Doos, they've got a totally rigged up Sea-Doo
Yeah.
to be able to do that. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for the call in this morning. Hopefully those allergies don't bother you the rest of the day, and we will look forward to hearing from you next week that hopefully somebody here on the Space Coast got registered and caught one of those tagged redfish that's available in our local waters here.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for always being a supporter. Don't forget, our awards ceremony is October the 12th in Crystal River at Sweet Citrus Acres. If you happen to have an RV, you can bring your RV
Allergies
and
are
stay
killing her
right on
today.
site.
Yeah.
So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All righty.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye-bye
Hope you
now.
feel better.
Man, I have allergies, so I have to stay on the Claritin/Zyrtec kind of a scenario.
I
rotation
do also.
scenario.
Yes.
But there are days that you just cannot get rid of it. And being outside this morning, I'm sure she's feeling it because with that little bit of cool air, there's a lot of things that have started to sprout and bloom.
Lots of pollen.
I look at the pasture over where we keep the horses, and all the little plants that are growing in the pasture, they've all sprung up and got pollinated or pollen emitting flowers on them right now. So I know how she's feeling. Well, guys and gals, we are going to take our next break. When we come back, Captain David Glasser and myself got a whole lot more catching memories, so don't go away. This segment of the show is brought to you by Petrucci Insurance, and nobody likes to pay for insurance. We all hate it. Every time you got to write that check, you're just like, man, just feel like I'm just wasting money, right? Well, make sure you're not wasting money. Give Petrucci Insurance a call because they're an independent insurance dealer that shops the prices of all of the different companies that they work with and finds you the best deal to get you the best coverage. Make sure you're not over or under covered because those things can happen very easily if you're not paying attention to your as an example, your home and your contents, or the depreciation on your boat or your car. You can be overpaying for a lot of the time when you don't actually realize that you are. So have them do a rate quote for you. Make sure that you aren't paying too much. Super easy to get a hold of them. 321-632-1200. That's 321-632-1200. Don't waste another day paying too much money for your insurance. Give them a call and let them get you sorted out and make sure that you're right where you need to be. That's what they do. David, we got the catch conditions we got to talk about here real quick. You were talking about how beautiful the ocean was earlier this week.
Yes.
It looks like it's going to get back to that. We're starting to see that swell diminish today, and through the next couple of days, hopefully it will continue to diminish. We got northeast today at 5 to 10, but it's going to swing around. It's going to go east, and then it's going to go southeast at 5 to 10.
I think northwest tomorrow.
By tonight. And then, and then some west starts kicking back in over the next couple of days. So seas inside of 20 miles are supposed to be 3 to 4 feet with a dominant period of around 11 seconds. And that seems to be holding pretty true. Right now at the Ponce buoy, 13 miles offshore of Ponce, it's 81-degree water temp. Seas are 4 feet at 9 seconds. The 4-mile buoy out of Canaveral, it's 81 degrees. Seas are 3 feet at 11 seconds. The 20-mile buoy is 86 degrees. That's a pretty big temperature jump. Somewhere between the beach and the ocean is, there's got to be a couple of hard breaks in there. Hopefully some dolphin, wahoo, maybe some kingfisher holding on.
And
some
sailfish too. My friend caught a sailfish the other day, about 10 miles out.
Yeah.
Outside Port Canaveral.
So look for those breaks if you guys and gals are getting offshore. 4 foot at 11 seconds at that buoy right now, and then the 6-mile buoy out of Fort Pierce, 80 degrees, so drop back down, and 3 feet at 6 seconds. Western edge of the Gulf Stream is about 36 nautical miles due east of Ponce Inlet, 28 due east of the port, and 26 due east of Sebastian. And the current surf temperatures, Ponce is 80, Cocoa Beach 81, and Sebastian is about 81. And the tides look like this. The next two tides we've got a low tide coming up at 12:01 p.m. at Port Canaveral, and then 6:42 p.m. is the high for this evening. And then Sebastian Inlet, we've got a low of 12:35 p.m. and a high of 7:03 p.m. Best times to hunt and fish, presented by All About Archery down in Melbourne. The major for this morning is actually 10:35 to 12:35. So that last part of that outgoing tide seems like when the bite's going to be best. And then the incoming tide, we've got 6:18 p.m. to 7:18 p.m. So we're going to have that last part of that incoming tide. Seems like it's lined up with the majors for today. So we appreciate Tino and the crew, Danny down there at All About Archery, bringing that particular part of the report to you. David, you were talking about sailfish. The water clarity has been surprisingly good, even though we've had the swell from the hurricane that just went by, Ernesto, out in the ocean. But before that, we had a lot of dirty water this summer, just in general, dirty water. And it really, put a damper on the inshore fishing. Hopefully we can get some of this cleaner water to move inshore, especially with a northwest or a northeast flow, getting some of that cleaner water that's up towards Ponce working down this way, and we can have a decent bait run.
I've noticed too, I fished inlet and Port Canaveral, and, I've seen a couple days out of the inlet where it was top to bottom. Beautiful, like the Bahamas. And I'd fish the port the next day and it'd be dirty. So it just depends, the area you're fishing, because it changes so much, that 40-mile span. And I know up north it's a little different up in New Smyrna. That's one of the most noticeable things. I think there's a lot of sand movement around the port.
Yeah.
And there's times when it'll be really dirty there, and like I said, south it'll be beautiful, crystal clear.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how clean the water was Tuesday when I popped outside of Sebastian Inlet, because it was really dirty inside. In many parts of that crossroads area between the inlet, Sebastian River, and the ICW, that whole area was dirty, and in fact, some places it was almost muddy. We had a mixture. There was a mixture in one area where you could tell there was water that had come out of Sebastian River. It had hydrilla and hyacinths mixed in with it, and it was
The outgoing tide.
yeah, it was an outgoing tide, and it was pretty muddy right there in that crossroads area. But for some reason, the yellowfin menhaden, just off of the edge of that muddy area where it was starting to clean up a little bit, there was menhaden, yellowfin pogies, or what we call turbos, just big schools of them, big schools of jacks, bull sharks probably by the hundreds.
Yeah.
And here's something I've really not seen too much in the past, and I saw this 2 days this past week. The dolphins got together. 15, 20 dolphins got together, and they're racing up and down the Intracoastal Waterway, just blowing up on the pogie pods, and the sharks and jacks and tarpon all right there, all feeding together with the dolphin. And that's something that you just hardly ever see. Normally dolphin are doing their thing and fish are doing their thing, but they were actually all feeding in conjunction.
Feeding frenzy.
Yeah, with one another. And that was really cool to see.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I have seen, whenever I see those big schools of pogies in the river, there's always big sharks under them. Yeah. And you never know what else you're going to find. Like you said, big jacks. And
the big bull reds will get in there sometimes too. And I haven't caught any reds down there this week. All the redfish I saw were in the inlet, on the outgoing tide. I didn't see any in the ICW at all. But there's other stuff there. And so when you get a chance to get that kind of activity, when you're starting to see big blow ups and that gets me excited. We're throwing a lot of topwater plugs, and just watching a jack come up and eat a topwater, or the sharks. We lost a couple to the sharks. That gets expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you're fishing down in Sebastian, because you fish halfway between Canaveral and Sebastian, when you're fishing down there, do you prefer to fish inside of the inlet itself, or do you prefer outside?
Both. I mean, I like fishing, the mangroves, and the flats back in there, but I do like fishing out of the inlet too, offshore, just because the reef ledge is a lot closer than going out of out of Port Canaveral. So there's a lot of options.
And what fish are you typically targeting on the reefs?
Usually mangrove snapper, lane snapper. I have a couple spots that have like black sea bass, triggerfish, and I usually have a flat line out the back, so we catch kingfish and cobia sometimes on the flat line. So
now, are you fishing? Do you like to fish those first two reefs that are in like 12 to 15 feet of water? Are you talking about 40-foot reef, or are you talking about the 65, 70-foot stuff?
Usually 65, 70-foot stuff, which is 10 to 12 miles out.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about Sebastian is you can get there a lot quicker. It's a third of the way shorter out of Sebastian to get to those reefs than it is out of Canaveral.
I do like lobstering too. That is south of the inlet.
And lobster season's open now.
It is open.
So have you had a chance to do any of that lately?
I have not. The water actually hasn't been that good since it's open. So with the upwelling, they had a lot of murky conditions down there. People are getting lobster, but it's not.
It's a struggle.
Ideal. Yeah.
Let it clear up a little bit.
Yeah. Hopefully September, October will be better.
Awesome. We're going to take our next break, gang, and then we've got another caller on the line, so don't go away. Captain David Glasser and myself, Jim Ross, are going to be right back with more after these messages. We're actually going to talk about Starbright protectants today because, one of the things that you guys and gals need to kind of make sure that you're doing all the time to keep things waterproof is to spray them, respray them, or reapply a waterproofing material. So if you've got a T-top and it's maybe not, it starts to get saturated and the water's not beating off of it anymore, you can get the Starbright waterproofing. It comes in a spray bottle, or you can get it in the gallon and put it in a pump sprayer if you want. I put it on my rain jackets after a couple of years of wearing them. For some reason, the water repellency goes away, so I spray down my rain jackets with them. The other thing that I like to spray down, like if you wear tennis shoes, you can spray your tennis shoes and it keeps them from soaking up water. Now, if it goes over the top and in, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
But if you're just kind of, it gets part of the way up the shoe, then the waterproofing just lets it repel right back off. And lastly,
Smart.
and here's something a lot of guys don't think about, our life jackets. Your life jacket, if you spray it with that water repellency, it keeps it from holding water and getting mold or mildew on it when it's down in a hatch.
Yeah.
It repels the water much, much more readily, and so you don't have as big an issue of having mold get onto those things. So check out the Star Bright waterproofing. It is a fantastic product, multiple uses, and of course, you guys can find it just about anywhere. But if you can't find it at one of your local places, go to starbright.com. You can order it right there from them. We're going to go to the phone lines. We got Captain Kyle Weaver on the line. Good morning, Kyle.
Good afternoon. How are
Or
you
good
guys?
afternoon. Yeah, in the Azores, it's in the afternoon, isn't
afternoon.
Yep, it's definitely afternoon time here, but unfortunately we've got into a little slow spell here where
Yeah?
we're at.
What-
Yeah, well, the moon, just generally, this is the time of year that they do this shift, and we rolled the dice to stay here because we had such good success, and now the bite's picking up on the other island about 180 miles away.
Gotcha. You don't think about fish moving as much as they do, but when they decide they're going to swim, within 2 or 3 days, they're there.
Yeah, I mean, you watch them, on the machines and doing 10 knots, and they go swimming right past us like it's nothing. So, can't keep up with them.
Well, Kyle, you had a pretty good blue here earlier in the week.
Yeah, we did. It was we catch one about 500, then we catch another one about 800, and then we missed a 750 that I don't know what happened. It somehow bent the rigger, and we don't know. The clips were set right, and there was line drag, and it took 5 of us to bend the rigger back. So I'm like, how can a fish bend the rigger on 10 pounds of drag? And it takes 4 grown adults and holding the rigger and trying to bend it back. So who knows? It's just one of those crazy things.
Yep. It's hard telling. You don't understand the power of fish until you go hand to hand with them, basically.
Yeah, I'm all banged up right now. I've got my hands are all swollen. I got mono scars and crushed hands, and getting old to be in the cockpit, but it's still fun. I like being back down there again.
So, Kyle, you guys had a fish that you think was somewhere in the 1,000 to 1,100 pound range a couple of weeks ago, and
that was very conservative on that one.
Yeah, conservatively, well into the 1,000-pound class. So, when you have a fish that's that big that comes up, and then you have a fish that comes up and it's 750 or 500, for an average guy, fishing a 500-pound blue marlin is a gigantic fish.
Yeah, that's huge.
But in your world, where you're fishing over in Jurassic Park, that's just kind of an everyday thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, I was talking with the owner and stuff. It's like, where else can you go in the world? It's slow right now, but about every 3 days we get a shot, but every shot's over 500. You could fish the Bahamas for 2 or 3 years and be lucky to see a 500-pound fish. It's just the size of the fish here is just, even, the tunas and the yellowfin, there is no such thing as small fish here. If they're small, they're in the belly of those fish we're catching.
Yeah.
Hey, Kyle, what size baits are you guys using for trolling for those marlin?
We're lure fishing over here. Big baits, on 600-pound leader, heavy stuff over here. But, just too big of a lure. You getting, it's not that they won't eat it. We had a yellowfin tuna the other day, for instance, eat a 36-inch mud flap off the dredge.
Wow.
The yellowfins are eating 36-inch tuna. So, 36-inch tuna, you'd think 25-pound tuna, 30-pound tuna. The yellowfins are eating that size tunas. So,
but the yellowfins aren't East Coast yellowfins where we're catching, 30, 40, 50 pounders. The ones you're catching have a 2 in front of that number.
Yes.
Yeah, the ones we're catching eat the yellowfins over on the other side. We got a couple the other day that measured out. One was 72 inches, one was 68 inches, and they're up in the mid 200 class fish there. So, And the bluefins are starting to show up here. We're starting to see a few, but they're not balling up the bait like they should be now. So I don't know if this moon or the next moon will get them fired up, or if we missed it and it's already over. It's just a gamble we take.
Now, you're in the big game world where you guys are targeting true giants. There's a handful of guys around the world that are doing this all at the same time in different places. And you're constantly in contact with those guys. So like you say, the guys 180 miles away from you have seen their bite pick up this week while your bite has slowed down. At what point do you decide, okay, we need to make the move. We need to pick up and roll now?
Well, last night we made that decision, and unfortunately, we got a 150-foot yacht that accompanied us, and we have guests on board. The owner's sons and their wives are on board. So, yesterday at 4:00, I saw the report coming from Horta, which is the bank is 180 miles away, and the boss goes, "Go in now, get fuel, and let's go." And then the yacht crew's like, whoa, it takes 8 hours to secure the yacht, and the women are like, absolutely not. So we, the brakes were put down on our moving
Gotcha.
that quick. Gotcha. They're flying out on Monday, and just logistically, to go over there for 2 days with the yacht and fish it, and then, turn around with the yacht, come back for 180 miles and try and get them on the planes is just not going to happen. So we'll make the move. Next time the owner flies in, we'll be set up wherever the fish are, hopefully. So just historically, the bite's here, and then it graduates over there. And the bite this year was early. We caught that fish that was, conservatively, 1,100 was a very conservative number on that after, you watch everybody. And I know 5 granders that were caught between Bermuda and Ascension Island and here that were all 1,200. And they all measured like 143 to 147. And everybody watched our measurements on the fish, and they're like, holy cow, it was past the 150-inch tape where it ends, and it was, good 8 to 12 inches past that tape. So Who knows how big that fish could have gone, but we put a tag in her and we released her. So, and then, we catch one the other day that was 850, and that fish was small after seeing the big one, and then
yes,
500,
800. That's the thing that's crazy is like when you're catching fish that are over 1,000 pounds, you look at a 700 or 800 pound fish and you're like, oh, well, this is just kind of an average, or maybe, he's not 800 pound marlin.
That's massive.
I want the day when an 800 pound marlin just kind of becomes routine for me.
Yeah, right. Hey, Kyle, what's the best season down there?
It's right now, August, September is the peak, and it goes all the way through October, depending on, when the waters cool off. But, last year I didn't see the water temp over like 73, 74 degrees, and this year we're teetering on 79, almost 80-degree water temperature already. And that just doesn't happen up here. We're in that El Nino, La Nina cycle where it could shut this place down for a couple of years. We're not seeing the big eye tunas like we did last year, and yellowfins are generally a warmer water tuna, and the bluefins we're seeing are staying down deep in that cooler water, down 200-300 feet. We're marking them on the sonars and watching them, so we know what we're looking at with these high-tech sonars.
What kind of depth are you guys usually fishing when you're fishing those marlin?
Anything from 350 all the way out to 3,000.
Wow.
We generally look for the upwelling with that cold current, and the marlins here are eating the tunas are eating the Boston mackerels, and then it's like a scad, like a goggle eye, and they're on that cold upwelling side, and wherever that is, or we'll go out to these seamounts. There's seamounts all through the Azores Islands, so it's very similar to Hawaii. And we get these seamounts that come up to 400 feet, 600 feet. That could be 100 miles out or 60 miles out, or depending on where you're at and what seamounts you go to. So wherever the current's hitting in the upwelling, but right now where I'm at, it's few and far between. There's maybe one fish caught a day, and then yesterday in Horta, everybody saw 2 to 3, and some of the top American boats that are over, they were seeing 5 and 6. Obviously, we have a advantage with the electronics compared to the guys that fish here. They're excellent marlin fishermen. It's just, you can't compete against a sonar. It's like side scan or live scope. It's just, you don't have it, don't even come play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many different islands are in that Azores chain?
So there's 9 islands here. and it's kind of cool because we sit on 3 different plates. You know, it's volcanic. We sit on the African plate, we sit on the European plate, and also the Atlantic plate or the American plate. And they all collide right here, and that's why we have all these giant volcanoes and seamounts all over. So it's volcanic, so it's pretty cool. Big, giant mountains, just like Hawaii. It's truly a beautiful, beautiful country.
That's awesome. Well, buddy,
and
we're
it's cheap compared to the Bahamas.
you got to like that.
Yeah, I mean, usually islands are expensive. Bermuda, Bahamas, and all that's expensive. But no, I mean, 3 of us go to dinner for a nice dinner, and it's $60, you know, with a couple beers or whatever. It's fairly cheap and easy to get to. 4.5, 5-hour flight, and you're here. And there's some great charter boats. You know, some of the best charter boats in the world are probably sitting right here.
Dude, you can't pull.
That's
you
awesome.
Can't pull through Chick-fil-A and get out of there for $60 with 3 people.
Probably not.
No,
You're right. Probably not.
I love it. You know, it's awesome. So it's very exciting. But unfortunately, it's slowed down, and the tunas it's few and far between. And you know, but I'll say after wiring that Blue Marlin the other day, I was on it for 15 minutes on the wire, and then the boss the other day was on the boat with the 750, and he was angry and horny and pissed off, and he's like, "Turn it loose." I'm like, "I ain't turning this little fish loose." And I rolled, and the fish went shooting out on the leader, and I locked him up. He goes, "I've never seen anybody roll a 700-pound blue marlin like that." And I'm like, well, after that big one, it was a baby to me. I wasn't scared of him.
Yeah.
But I'm paying for it. My hands are crushed right now. They're hurting.
I was gonna say, when you start wrapping a 600-pound leader around your hands and pulling on a 750-pound fish, you're gonna feel that. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we have custom gloves with giant thick leather straps around them, you know. And I'll send a picture of you the gloves here when I walk back out. You can look at them, but you can see the line marks, you know. But you know, we've got a little less than probably a quarter inch or inch of leather over top of the gloves to stop that pinch, you know, so it doesn't crush your hands. And so my gloves are smoked.
You're smoked, huh? All right, brother. Well, we're up against the next break that we have to take, but man, it's fantastic hearing from you from across the pond, and you guys stay safe over there, and we look forward to another adventure the next time we get a chance to talk with you. We appreciate the call in.
Good luck, Kyle.
We have some better stories.
Go fishing gets better.
Tell everybody back home I said hi.
Will do, buddy. Will do.
Take care.
That's a heck of a summer job. You know?
So he just goes for a couple months or something?
Yeah, they left about 2 months ago, and he'll be there till November when hunting season starts, and he comes back here and does some guiding up in, I think, Indiana or Illinois or somewhere.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Kyle's got the life. I guess, we all do. If you get to do what you love for a living,
yes,
it doesn't suck.
I feel blessed. Yes, I feel blessed for sure.
Exactly. Well, guys and gals, we're going to take our last break of the day. Captain David Glasser and myself are going to be right back with the wrap-up here from Catch a Memory Outdoors, so don't go away. David Glasser's in with me. For those of you that may just be joining us, we're almost at the end of the show, but welcome anyway. For those of you that have been there for the whole show, we appreciate you guys and gals sticking around. You know, David, we were talking a little bit about that Sebastian area and how it's a little different down there than it is in the Canaveral and Ponce Inlet areas that, we cover basically from Smyrna to Sebastian on a regular basis with the Mosquito Lagoon, the Banana River, the Indian River. And we live in such a great place because there's so many different places, so many different bodies of water that we can go fish in. And so many different species that we can chase. But what's interesting is Sebastian in particular, and you having fished that area for quite some time, there are species there that we don't get throughout the rest of the system. You were mentioning, the lane snapper, the mutton, there's mutton snapper that we get a lot of times inshore.
Bonefish in the summer too.
Bonefish.
Yeah.
Permit, just Kubera snapper. There's a lot of different fish that we get in the summertime here that we're like right on the northern fringe of those species, habitat range, I guess you would call it. And so, that's some of the coolest stuff that we get to chase fish that we would, like I'm chasing in May down in the Keys when I'm down there all May. I'm chasing bonefish and permit and tarpon and mutton snapper and mangrove snapper and all these different types of fish. some of them we get up here, some of them we don't, but there are a couple of them that we get in both places, and I just find that just really cool. That's what's one of the things that's so unique about Sebastian itself.
I think saltwater fishing in general is interesting because you never know what you'll catch
Ever.
and that's what's fun when you're taking clients out that come from freshwater background and come from like fishing lake systems and fishing the ocean. It just blows their mind every time when they're like, catch so many different species. Like sometimes, we'll catch like 12 different species of fish in like 3 hours, and people are blown away by that.
So here's an example. We stop on the South or North Jetty at Port Canaveral, okay? And you're right. You put a shrimp on, and you pitch it out, and you catch a flounder, and you put a shrimp on, and you cast it out, and you catch a bluefish, and you put a shrimp on, and you cast it out, and you catch a snook, and it's just like your customers are going, what in the heck is going? It's not like you're changing baits, changing locations, doing anything like that. It's just all of a sudden there's a variety of fish, and we've got the mullet run coming up, which I'm really excited about.
Super excited about that. Yeah.
That's going to be this mullet run should be.
I mean,
really,
that one was
really
that was a permit.
A permit
we got the other day. Good permit
and
at
that was
Port Canaveral.
That was at Port Canaveral.
Port Canaveral. Yeah. Sheephead, permit, redfish, snook.
You just
everything.
never know what's going to bite the shrimp next.
Yeah, that's what's exciting about fishing saltwater.
So your customers are, like mine. A lot of them are from out of town.
Yes.
And one of the things that I see is the guys that they're dialed in on their fishery. They're really, really passionate about it. Whether it's, catfishing in the Midwest, whether it's smallmouth fishing in the Northeast, walleye, salmon, whatever it happens to be. But you get them down here, and it's a whole new world for them. I mean, that's such a great experience to showcase that for them.
And I think it's humbling too for some of the guys that are used to, bass fishing is easy for them. And like I had a guy who was, didn't understand like sight fishing, and we were sight fishing tarpon, like schools of tarpon, and it was taking him a while to adjust to be able to see the fish. And it was
he wasn't picking up on them. Yeah,
he wasn't picking up on them, and that was definitely, I could tell he was humbled by it because the fish were just coming right up, and it took him a little bit. By the end of the trip, he was like figuring it out. But I think a lot of people don't get that sight fishing opportunity like in a lake, when we get clean water, that's a whole nother animal for a lot of people.
That and just the sheer amount of power. How many times have you had a customer that hooks into a 2.5 pound Jack Crevalle, and they're fighting it, and they think they have Moby Dick. They're in their mind, they are convinced that the Kraken has eaten their bait, and they're battling the Kraken.
Yeah, and also, the initial strike of a snook. A snook when they first hit, they run so fast and hard. And, a lot of people, I'll have to tell them, like, you need to put your hand above the reel and not holding behind the reel on the rod, because that fish is going to try to rip that rod out of your hands.
Yeah, he's going to try
and a lot of people don't understand that, and I always have to tell people, like, be ready.
As guides, obviously, and I see you doing exactly the same thing. We want to teach our customers how to be better fishermen. I consider it a win, no matter how many fish we catch. I consider it a win when my angler gets off the boat and he has a better skill set than when he stepped on the boat, and a better appreciation for how can I take this back to my fishery and do that.
And it's that, and also I don't want my tackle going overboard. But yeah, it is nice when you're able to educate, and people are open to learning and receiving that information and understanding how different the saltwater fishery is and just the versatility of it. But yeah, it is great being able to educate people and have them come back and get addicted to that saltwater fishing.
Yeah. Well, guys and gals, we're running close on time. I want to let you know real quick that there's 2 kids fishing tournaments coming up. One on October 12th at Fox Lake Park, put on by the Freemasons up in Titusville. That's for ages 8 to 12, and you can get involved with that by going to SAC. So Altman's AC at cfl.rr.com. There's 40 spots available for that. Every kid gets a rod and reel, and there's a bunch of other sponsors and prizes. And then also the 29th annual Port Canaveral Kids Fishing Clinic, October the 19th. That's at Jetty Park, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you must be accompanied by an adult with that one. Ages 5 to 15 on that one, go to fsfaclub.org. We appreciate those guys and gals taking kids out fishing, because I know how much you and I love taking kids out fishing too, David.
I love it.
Buddy, I'm going to have to get you back on the show. We had a lot of callers today. We didn't get a chance to really talk about fishing like I'd like to talk. So we're going to have to get you back on here
Sounds
sometime
good.
real soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How does somebody get a hold of you, though? I mean, whenever they want to find a good charter guide around here, how do they get a hold of Captain David Glasser?
I have a website, Fishing Devotion Charters. Also, my phone contact is 321-604-6024, and you can contact me either through the website or my phone number.
And you got a flats boat and a bay boat. So
I do.
You're doing both.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys and gals, until next week, we appreciate you tuning in every Saturday right here to see what's going on up and down the Space Coast. This has been Catch a Memory Outdoors. I'm Captain Jim Ross. He's my special guest for the week, David Glasser, and thank you guys and gals so much for tuning in and listening today.